Welcome back to my channel, guys. It's me, Irvin, with another manga volume review. This is going to be on one that I have a lot of questions on, and I'll talk about that in this video. But before anything, if you haven't done so by now, make sure you subscribe to my channel. Yes, I am trying to come back to regular posting. Reaction videos are going to be coming out whenever I can. That's just really what's going to end up being happening. But I will continue doing manga reviews as regular as possible, as well as opening of Pokemon cards and other stuff like that. If you guys have not done so by now, make sure you subscribe to my channel, give some love by commenting, liking, and sharing. And yeah, let's talk about this manga itself. Now, the official name is Real Account 2, and I want to clarify that from the beginning. It's not a second part to Real Account. Now, if you don't remember what Real Account was, Real Account was coming out when I was getting back into manga and anime, and it had a big fandom. It was one of the survival series, and if you don't know me, I love survival series. So this was one that I knew about, didn't really read it because it was already almost completed. So at the time, I wanted to read stuff that was fairly new, fairly, fresh on people's minds and not something that people have discussed already. So Real Count 2 came out, and I don't really know what exactly it did, but Real Count 2 essentially is a remake of the first one. I haven't really read the first one, haven't really given my opinion on it because I don't know much about it. All I know is that it's a remake, it's not a continuation. Now, as far as I know, even though it is a remake, there is new characters or characters that weren't really in the first one. So we'll go from there. So the story itself, first volume, which I'm considering the first chapters to be first volume because I also cannot find a list of the chapters per volume as well. So if you guys can do that for me, that would be awesome. If not, I'm just going to be reviewing by what I think is volume one and what I think is volume two. So what I think is volume one, first four chapters, very similar to Rare Account one. Um, it is based on this guy who is um, he is hiding his social life. Essentially, in real life, he tells his friends that social media is not for everyone. It's really just to distract you. But in secret, only his girlfriend knows he actually is very, very big at social media. Now, this guy, we'll call him Yuma. Um, Yuma essentially is sucked into this online game through social media called Real Account of people that are pretty big in there. And essentially, they are used to play a survival game. Now, the first game, essentially, they pull out the rules and say if you lose the game, you die, but also your followers die. So to keep it fair, what we're going to do is we're going to let people outside of the game unfollow you. That way they can save themselves. So they have 3 hours to do that. If they choose to unfollow you completely, you have zero followers, then you die. Now, this rule eventually becomes a set rule for the entire game. So even though you end up with two followers, people can still unfollow you, and that's very important towards the end of this volume. But essentially, the guy ends up with one follower, that's his girlfriend, and his girlfriend tells him, "You know what? I'm gonna unfollow you towards the last seconds. Like, I really want to cherish the last few minutes with you." And he's like, "Heck no, I want to live." So he finds another person who is kind of the same situation and decides to convince her to become mutual friends. And they do. Right at the last second, they become mutual friends and they're able to save themselves. Now, what happens next is essentially they are following each other, and the next game is the dislike game or the unlike game, which is essentially they choose a random photo from your phone, and you have to guess if people are going to like it or dislike it in the real world. Now, obviously, this goes beyond social media because a lot of people just live for the likes, right? They don't realize how much dislikes there is compared to the likes. So because of it, a lot of people end up dying also in this game. Now there is a trick to it, and I'm not gonna tell what the trick to the game is, but they figure it out eventually, and people eventually start surviving the game. Lastly, in the fourth chapter, a third game, I guess you can say, or fourth, no, third game starts, and this is a weird game. It's they're in a cafe essentially, and um, Mr. Yuma and this girl who they're mutual friends end up in this room together, and they realize that they're being webcammed, and essentially they have to keep 100 viewers to the end of the timer, or else they are going to be killed. And they're able to switch through cameras of the other people's, and the bizarre things that are obvious are happening. Guys and girls are doing the no nos. There's actually weird, like, I guess kinks there are being played out so people can, just watch and follow. And then there is one in particular that they stop, and it's very disturbing, where someone is slowly killing the other person, and people are watching. So um, basically, anything goes. Now, keep in mind that rule that I said does play still throughout the entire game, because what ends up happening is that one of the girls who decided to essentially sell herself, her body in front of everyone in webcams, ends up that she's married, and her only follower that is keeping her alive is her husband. So guess what? Her husband unfollows her, and she dies. So a lot of things that you have to keep in consideration going on in this game. So uh, very much a good start to the story. Very psychological, very suspenseful. I will say I don't know where it is going other than survival itself. If there is no like background story to why all this is happening, it hasn't really hooked me in that sense. The only sense that it's hooked me in is that it's a survival series, and people are basically doing whatever they can to survive. So, um, do I like it so far? Yes, but I'll give it a 6 out of 10 because it doesn't have the meat of a good story yet, and maybe it does eventually, maybe it doesn't. It is a remake, so remakes always end up being really good or really bad. So we'll see what happens with this one. Thank you guys so much for watching this. If you haven't done so by now, make sure you subscribe, give some love by commenting, liking, and sharing. And guys, I'll see you guys next time. Like always, don't be strangers. See you guys.